Hello, everybody. Welcome back. A little bit of a live look in as far as what's happening on the Bravo stream. Don't worry, all the normal information. You have to wish it to existence. It doesn't just automatically show up. You got to throw a little bit of extra love to it. We're ready to go here. My whole shift with me is Visions. We're going to get a battle for Colorado here. Colorado State Rams going up against Colorado Black. We saw the gold team earlier, Austin. This black team, though, supposedly their main roster.
The main roster. And I mean, we also saw good things out of that gold team, right? It's not like they got
Yeah.
completely wiped up the board. Sure, it's a 3-0, but it was a really close 3-0, round 11s and whatnot here. So if that was, essentially the B team, then who knows what we got in store here coming through for this squad. So I am very excited to see exactly what their main roster is going to be able to do. And we have a very interesting map set as well in towards the mix here. We don't get Miami too often. That's going to be coming in second, of course. Garrison Hardpoint to kick things off to see what subs are going to be able to kind of set the tone here for us. So a lot of good maps here, a good mixture of what we're going to get coming in towards the set.
And to be fair, this might be the closest thing to land CCL we're going to get. Only an hour between these two teams. They're both on the same side of the Rockies, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just a shot up a path, and you're at either Fort Collins or you're in Boulder. So it should be interesting. Host not going to be a complaint here. If it is, we'll have some work because it shouldn't be a problem for these guys. Now, granted, of course, hopefully they're all, it's still, if they're on campus or not. But regardless, again, both of these schools just a short day trip up the road from one another. So it'd be interesting because there's been a little bit of hype, I think, about what Colorado's been able to put together. We had Colorado Springs last year, and now all of a sudden you've got two different Colorado Boulder teams. You've got Colorado State. I mean, Colorado's coming up to play, man. It's also something the mountain air and lets them want to play some Call of Duty this year, I guess.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of Call of Duty to be played here amongst all these rosters, and I mean at the same time we have some teams like you said coming in towards the mix from last year here, looking to make their mark going in towards this one, and that comes back to the fact that we made off the top of the broadcast, which is you want to start things off on the right foot. We've seen a couple of teams come out here very, very hot. We had a really close series coming through there on the Bravo stream, so there's been a lot of really exciting moments just in day one. I mean, it's been plastered all over the Twitter feed here for ourselves with 1v4s, insane clutches. I mean, comebacks already down like 100 points in the hard point. So it's really hard to predict what we're going to get, Alan, here. It's really all up in the air because we just had so much magic kind of play out for us throughout the broadcast that it's going to be a lot of question marks coming in for as far as what we're going to get from both of these squads.
Indeed the case. And now we can remember that for CU Gold, they are actually the Southwest region, but here we're actually dealing with the Pacific region. Just to kind of lay things out. We've gone away from just having the West, the Midwest, the South, and then the Northeast. Everything's been split into a lot of different regions. So technically speaking, both Colorado teams are in different regions from one another, even though obviously they go to the same place. So just kind of a way that the A team just had to play the B team or whatever the colors they want to assimilate those squads with. So just kind of important to note, there's a lot to follow along with. You can track each of the standings for all of those regions by going to collegecod.com Visions. A lot of stats are coming. They're not fully there yet, but they're coming. And let me tell you, the website looks really, really good. So if you're trying to follow along with what schools are involved, what regions and divisions these teams happen to be in, go to the website, all right? collegecod.com, bookmark it, put it right in front. You know, do one better. Go to your Google Chrome settings, and when you start a new tab, have it just go right to collegecod.com. Automatic. You don't get a choice. You just have to start your day by going to collegecod.com. No choice about it.
It's a good way to start the day, let's be honest, right? Especially with some of the new graphics we saw in there. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be nice to see what these individuals are going to be able to kind of put up for as far as statistics throughout the season. So yeah, it's gonna be very, very fantastic. And coming back to the map set, I didn't really get into it, but I think this is interesting because we're obviously in a system where we are doing vetoes, and within the veto process for ourselves, there's not a lot of teams I think that are open to leaving Miami and not actually vetoing out that map. I think for the most part, a lot of teams have kind of just chalked that map up and said, all right, we're not looking to play this. Let's just, hard ban it every single time. But when you do leave yourself open to actually being really good on a map like this, it changes the whole dynamic of how you're doing your vetoes, because then you can then veto out, a map that is usually a lot more common, like Moscow, coming through for us. And time to time, Garrison, a lot of teams have gotten really comfortable on that. So you can look to ban out those maps that are more commonly played and force, harder veto systems in towards your opponents where they're like, okay, well, do we want to play Miami or do we want to play another map that we're maybe not as great on if we can't look for a hard ban here? So I really like the dynamics coming in towards the mix here for us, where we have at least a very close range map to Garrison to kick things off. We go over towards Miami where there's no scopes, no smokes on towards the map. So everything is played so much differently for the overall look of the actual game mode here with such a large landscape to be able to kind of maneuver around.
And again, GA's no smokes, no snipers. Miami
Exactly.
plays so wildly different.
It
And,
is.
we saw during the Challengers Cup, the New York Subliners Academy roster, they have it figured out as far as what they want to do without the addition of smokes or sniper rifles. And they look pretty good on the map. So if you're able to kind of work with maybe the hand you're dealt, you can turn that 7-2 offset into four of a kind, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, poker references, things of that nature. But if you're able to kind of take something that is usually, again, looked at negatively and just find a way to make it a positive, that
Sure.
is, again, a natural advantage in some form. So, yeah, I think it's interesting to see what we're going to get when we eventually get there. And again, we've got Raid for the Control for sure, and then potentially that Search and Destroy for map number 5 as we go. We are just waiting on a couple players to get into the lobby, though. So, again, this is dealing with a lot of what we're seeing from the west and central parts of the United States. Tomorrow, though, Tuesday, will largely be existing on the East Coast. You're not going to want to miss the matches tomorrow. There's a lot of really, really good ones that are coming up. On this broadcast specifically, we've got the Ohio State University Scarlet team going up against Liberty Red. That should be a good one because Ohio State last year, not that great. The year before, very good. This year, supposed to be more towards the very good, less than the kind of underwhelming performance they had from last year. But then we've also got a battle between Humber College and Sheridan College going up to your neck of the woods
Yeah.
there, Austin. And then to finish off the evening, Concord Maroon, Penn State.
Whew.
That's going to
Penn
be a
State.
good one. Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, those are a lot of tough matches, I think, for sure. I mean, Penn State coming through in the last year, wanting to try and make that dent, having, actual successful playoff run and knocking down a couple of squads, and then going up against Concord. I mean, there's just so many great things. We saw them in the kickoff. Like, Concord looked really good. And then Megatron responds to my tweet after I'm like, Concord's looking pretty terrifying coming to the season. He's like, yeah, we practiced, like 2 days so far.
Twice,
like,
yeah,
all right, dude. Like, I'm really, really scared to see once you guys get back into the flow of things because there's so much trust and chemistry. And then, yeah, we have the battle coming up in towards the north here. A lot of changes coming through. I believe it was GoTunes that I think made the switch over, which means that we're going to see, him going up against his previous squad, some previous teammates, and seeing exactly how that's going to come together. I remember that was the change. I'm assuming that's what I'd went through, but either way, a lot to break down going in towards tomorrow here for us. Just so much excitement. And it's just really, coming in the first 2 days out, like we're just at touching it, just really scratching the surface coming in towards the mix here. And we already got all these hype matchups, already kind of building some of these rivalries up throughout the mix. So it is going to be a great time all around.
Indeed. But let's get back into this one. Colorado State Rams going up against Colorado Boulder Black Buffalo. Rams and Buffalo, oh my. Mountainous animals, maybe, kind of. Rams more than Buffalo, but hey, it's whatever it happens to be. We've got Garrison Hardpoint coming up first and foremost. And, it's interesting because we've seen a lot of variety as far as weapons are concerned so far, which is to be expected. We, as much as I think a lot of people who come in to kind of watch College COD, they expect to see challengers level gameplay. We need to know where we're at here. And at a certain point in time, you use what you're comfortable with. So I'm not going to judge if I see MP5s or Bullfrogs. If you're pulling 30 plus kills with either of them, can't hate on it.
Can't complain.
Can't tell me otherwise. I mean, maybe I need to try it out because let's be honest, there are some days that I come out and I'm just a burger, more buns than burger meat, something. I don't know. Let's get into this one. Colorado State. It's going to be Coog, Retro, Steggy, and Pawn playing up against Colorado Black Forte. Going with D-Nerf, Jugster Pro, and Mr. Apocalypse OP.
I like that name. All the uppercases here and there as well. As we will see presence coming through right away. CU Black will try to get themselves positioned on top of the point as well as maintain the spawns for themselves so they can get over towards green. But we will see Jugster Pro maybe just watch and see if he can get that challenge in. Waiting patiently. Now we'll start to make that move. Will be good as he gets assistance there with the Semtex. That's going to be 3 down as well. So they will earn themselves control here over P1 early.
No, I had a chance. I was working with the Utah team for a minute. They actually played a scrim against Colorado State, and Pawn at times on this map just took over. He could be an absolutely influential player and really just dominate the middle of the map. That's something that you're kind of looking for. The only thing he's dominating right now is his teammate as he finds Retro, unfortunately, right in front of him as they try to come away from caution over towards P2. And Colorado are already set up, ready to go. The first hit will come from top comms. Nerf is looking at this, but will be pushed back. And Pawn has actually found elimination. So now the hit. Colorado State trying to flood through from multiple angles, but neither of them are finding all that much success. Nerf looking inside, outside, upside down, finds himself 6 straight kills. He's 8-1, and the Buffalo locking down P2.
Yeah, you tell him where the targets are, and well, he is just going to knock him down. Just finding all three, staying on the time here. This is a massive lead built up. DNRF still remaining on the spree right now. Finds himself on 7 in a row. I mean, Jugster Pro also hasn't even died yet here, Alan. This is an incredible start. DNRF now on the rotation as they're looking to maybe flip out the spawn somehow. Will be able to destroy Pawn up top on the high ground and take a look at that mini map. It's only player number 2, Retro, who needs to get in towards the back, and he is cut down. This is phenomenal hardpoint being played right now for the main roster from CU, and they are taking over.
DNRF needs a weapon. He's got 7 bullets left, and there they are. That's the end of him right there. What is he gonna do to try to keep this 10 spree alive? He's got himself a 74 EU. Okay, so now he's gonna hit the pinch from behind tools. Retro should get the call up, not gonna be necessary. It's Coog who finds the kill, and Astegi finds it up close and personal. This is actually a break of the spawns for the Rams, although I don't know if they necessarily knew it as quickly as you would have liked, because Colorado Black are already here trying to push through the bottom side hangar, and they're already trying to get into the back to try to reflip these spawns back. For Colorado State, you need to hold, you need someone to start to pop off, but I don't know, they look a little bit lost right here because Colorado Black just absolutely walked right on in, find the kills, and retake the hill.
I mean, just take a look at the KDs coming through right now. I mean, who wants to challenge? You know, if you see that challenge right there for the front of the hill, and I'm Retro too, I'm backing away, and I'm just trying to play for the cutoff on this rotation right now because everyone is frying, and now they're going to start to make this rotation as they have over 100 points in their favor. D-Nerve is just beaming anyone who ends up popping in towards his site, but finally you get a bit of a response. That's going to be Retro and Pawn winning it on a couple of gun battles, but Retro kind of left all alone right now as his teammates are in and around the hill. Needs to win a massive battle out front, but will be pressured down. Doesn't exactly have all the reinforcements in as the pinch comes from the side. D-Nerf will be able to open up the hill and make it free here once again.
Yeah, and you're getting a little bit of contest here from Colorado State, but the problem is these trades are not resulting in the map pressure that they need to either zone out the hard point or potentially put themselves in favorable spots coming off of spawn. Coog up top has been red completely. D-Nerf was hounding him down before Mr. Apocalypse was able to take him out of the picture. So 150 to 22, still 30 seconds to play. D-Nerf is good for 1. Challenges with 60 HP and will eventually drop. Maybe a little bit of over-challing coming there, but I guess why not if you're playing like he is right now. 8 and 1 for Jugster. He really hasn't done too much besides soak up hardpoint time and then just go on major sprees. And just by watching people come into the hardpoint. So yeah, Colorado Black all over this one early, and they will have the spawns coming up for P5, which could put them over the 200-point mark.
I think that's really the big factor is, you know, when we're seeing them not in control of the spawns like that last hill, they're getting themselves set up and positioned for the new one. And D-Nerf now should be able to take control of Catwalk. Does stop shooting there for a second, but now lines up the second. Retro also falls. Clean wipe across the board. They should realize that there's going to be a flip of the spawns in towards the back, and Jugster Pro, he's already set up. He has that entire cross in towards the tank here pretty much cut off as his teammates are just mowing them down. I mean, 23 points is all CSU Rams really have for themselves. They're struggling to get in towards the point right now, Alan, and this is just a takeover from CU Black that is just not going down. And look at the finesse. They are just going off, putting them on an absolute crazy display, and this is just an insane opening towards your very first map.
At this point, somebody from CSU just needs to go start knocking on doors and be like, hey, just want to make sure you guys, the monitors are on, setups are still fully functioning. You know, do something. Colorado all over this one. And, you know, for Colorado State, again, like I mentioned, you know, I had a chance to watch them play up against Utah. They looked pretty good. This is not at all what I saw from when I was watching them play before. Not sure if that's maybe them not maybe having the greatest game or Colorado Black being that good, or maybe just a little bit of both, because right now this is absolute bloodbath. Jugster's going to finish only dying twice in the map, potentially.
That's wild.
I mean, what?
He made it to like the third hill, I'm pretty sure, without even dying. It was like 3-0. He was just soaking up time, and it's the fact that he has 2 deaths and he has the most time on his team, right? Like, it's not like he's just actually playing for KDA. He is just simply playing incredibly well, and with only 14 seconds left, it very well could just end for us on this hill. It's going to be Mr. Apocalypse OP with that MP5, bringing out something a little different as well as it comes through for them, and really looking at the final moments. And absolutely just insane opening to your year, as that's a 250 to 26 scoreline. I mean, how do you even break that one down, Alan?
The answer is you don't. Hi there for a second. You don't. I mean, the rotation from 1 to 2 was flawless. The rotation from 2 to 3, flawless. The re-break for the spawns, flawless. They zoned out 4 nicely to get themselves P5 spawns, and then the game was over. So there's your analysis.
Thanks, Alan.
You're
I
welcome.
like that. That's great analysis. And now things I just don't think get any better for them. I mean, we don't know the veto process, but I'm assuming if Miami
Right.
got through and CU Black is looking this good, then I think they have a pretty good grasp on at least what they're looking to do in their map set. So I have to imagine this is a map they're going to be comfortable with. And there was no dominance, not only like from one department. It's not like it was just subs, taking over, winning, right? Like
It
it
was
was both.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really hard, I think, to reset going in towards a map that you might not be as familiar with. You don't have the option to pull out the sniper rifles and the smokes right now. So things are all going to come down to gunfights. And we know a lot of those gunfights come through right in towards kind of bottom piano and towards top purple. And that's really where the main control is. And if you start conceding a lot of that pressure and stop, going for the risk of getting control of it on defense, then that very well could just, put you in awful situations for as far as getting any kind of control on this map. So things are looking a little bit scary to say the least heading in towards the second map.
Oh, it's scary is I mean, that's an R-rated movie that would shake the shoes right off of a 60-year-old grown man that's seen The Shining 18 times. I don't know. The Shining is really not that scary of a movie, but I don't know. Just go with me, all right, Austin? In
All
rare
right, let's
form
roll with
tonight.
it.
Just come right along, brother. Just come right along. And we'll move right along because we've got Miami Search and Destroy coming up. And okay, so let's try to spin this around. Colorado Black just absolutely dominated on the rotations from point to point, right? Okay, no problem. How do you go up against a team that might be better than you on a map like Miami Search and Destroy? Is really the question we have to ask ourselves right now because it has to be the consideration for Colorado State. You're not doing all that well against the ARs. The SMGs also maybe not so much. Is it one of those things that you let Colorado try to play over aggressive against you? Or do you just try to immediately slap back and just try to full force something to see if you can actually break apart this Colorado Boulder Black confidence that is, it has to be just steamrolling right now?
Oh yeah, I mean they got to be on just a crazy level right now for as far as the comps and how they're feeling. But I think the answer to that is you have to be willing to take a lot of risk. And I think the one time where we see maybe weaker teams, so to speak, against better teams when they're able to overcome them and beat them in search and destroy, I feel like it's off the back end of doing plays you're not going to expect. It's like, well, why would he ever do that? You know what I mean? We all have been there
Right.
when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
like, why would this guy challenge me? Like, what is he doing? You know what I mean? It's those little plays that I think start to maybe get into your opponents of their heads and being able to at least kind of tilt them a little bit and see if those risky plays do end up paying off. Maybe there's a case
Yeah.
where you end up jumping right towards the pre-fire, you just end up going down, but you have to be willing to take some kind of risk here. You have to be willing to kind of do things together, play for those trades. I mean, not going so much for solo plays because we saw a lot of solo plays that were kind of working for rotations that were never really being won. The individual gunfights weren't
True.
exactly always there. So I think really the answer is group up, get together, look to hit things out, and see if you can maybe actually pick apart what they're doing, throw some risk in there, and see if that's going to be able to pay off for you.
The other thing too that I'll say, going into this, you just cannot be allowed to go off and play solo chals. Like you just have
Yeah,
to work
exactly.
in duos at worst because you need to be playing trades. If you find yourself, let's just say you go kill for kill for kill, end yourself with a 2v2, that's a situation that is still not bad if you're looking at that from CSU Rams. The
For
one
sure.
thing you'd want to avoid is dropping that first blood, not have a trade, and then all of a sudden it's a 4v3 and you have to make a special play happen at that point, right? Like if you were to really go to the elementary core of breaking down what has to go right for you in an odd man situation, trades aren't good enough anymore. Like someone has to have at least a two piece, right? So you just can't be down in numbers early. That's the long and short of it. In my mind, if you could go trade for trade, you could play as a tandem group of at least duos. I think you'll be okay to try to get this down to more dwindled numbers to where you can start to play off the objective. That's where I really think that if you're really getting outclassed in a matchup, not just this one specifically, but if you're out there watching and you find yourself against a matchup like where you're just not competitive when it comes to the overall individual gun skill, you've got to find a way to play the map in your favor, whether that's chalking up back 20
Sure.
seconds on hard points to make sure you can try to lock a full opening 40, or for search and destroys, just make sure you're always in a position to recontest gunfights with a full force. You just don't want to be individually trying to make plays.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you here. And as we get ourselves in towards this map, I am so interested to see how CU Black actually come in here. Like, I'm almost expecting, like pushes in towards the middle of the map, just forcing gunfights as much as possible and just doing some wacky things just because they just
Right.
beat their opponents down so bad that you're going to have a lot less respect for them and you're going to be making maybe some of those risky plays that we talk about in favor of CU Black here, but something is going to have to change. Maybe we can give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe CSU Rams are just S&D stars. We do not know, but something will have to change as we get in towards it. And well, right off the bat, not going for a traditional B hit. I do like this, but you can see at least a nice spread coming through on defense for CSU Rams. No one getting too aggressive just yet. Everyone at least tight enough to play for some kind of a trade.
And how about this? It's CU Black going to use both ARs to play from either the front side of Piano or over the middle of the trash cars that are right in the middle of the road. Because, again, no sniper presence means you can take AR battles at range, but it's Coog sitting front side pink for first blood. This is good news. At what Colorado State do you say, we've seen nothing over towards B, we should probably rotate somebody over else to make sure they can help out at A?
Little stun check comes through there. Jugster Pro will drop the bomb, and no one's put themselves in a spot to be able to take him off of it. So Jugster Pro does get out with his life. Now the retake starting to come through. Eggy in towards the back, takes some shots. D-Nerf will be able to survive with his life. The position will also be known. Now everyone's starting to close and collapse, but you have to do this a lot quicker.
And you have to retake the visitor center. Good luck, have fun, because you've got Apocalypse watching at afar. Nerf coming over for the pinch, gets 2. Pawn there for the eventual trade. That's what you want. See trades come through. 2v2, but Pawn doesn't expect Jugster to be so close. And now it's just down to Steggy. Apocalypse going to be rotating over. Semtex will be the end of him. And right there, again, I'm fine with the setup for Colorado State, but at a certain point, if you don't see anything over towards B, and your first kill is mid-map, put somebody else mid-map at least to help that rotation over towards the A site, right? Like, there's nothing to hurt it, because if worst, you're in the middle of the map, you can still rotate over to B if you absolutely need to, either through the back alley, through pink, or over the jump wall. But at best, you're in a position to make sure that the 3-man hit through beachfront is also hard-pressed to get there without contest.
What will CSU Rams try and respond with on their offense? Bomb coming right up the middle of the map. Pawn's going to go for that initial challenge here. Won't meet anyone. But Jugster Pro, he gets towards the top of purple with no one really here to contest him. Nade will come through. And Pawn now looking to set up the retake here with one of his teammates, but they actually call it off here. So a bit of hesitation maybe on what they're looking to do. They do not want to try and commit for this and give away any lives. Looks like now the game plan will be to try and attack this from the garage.
And I was second guessing myself. So Pawn, when I was watching them, like I mentioned, play up against Utah before, he was running an SMG on Garrison, and he went on like a 14 spree. Now, that may have been me realizing that he was on a 14 spree. He just happened to be holding an SMG because he needed it, but he's running the 74U now and is the bomb carrier. So it's a bit weird to see him go from the Crit last map into a 74U this map. The problem for CSU is that they haven't committed to the hit to the front through Piano yet, and now they're a little bit stuck, and there's not a lot of time to play with.
It's just so indecisive, and I mean, they've now like choked themselves into this area, right, where Pawn's going to try and push through, but he ends up going down. D-Nerf finds the second one here as well, and the last one left alive, Coog, but I mean, he's got no time to find any kills and get that bomb down, so this is another round that's going to end up going over here. And it just comes up the lack of not committing to the call. If you're going to try and go for top purple control and it doesn't work, that's fine. But at least try to attempt to do something here instead of coming down to the final seconds and going back and forth and being forced into a spot where you're just in really bad positions.
I agree. And it's just, it has to be a trusted commitment thing. I've always been the big school of thought. You know, back when I was playing competitively and having time to watch, a lot of teams trying to make it happen from like being brand new, group of 4, never played together before. One of the biggest problems that teams have are just trusting a call. Like, everyone's afraid of making the wrong play call.
Yeah.
And so nobody makes a call, and it ends up becoming worse. Like, I'm a big fan of the school of thought of someone make this call, everyone commit, and if we can evaluate later that it was a bad call, we know what to fix. It was a bad call. But if you're not making calls, or even worse, if no one's committing to the call, it's too difficult. It's a communication thing. It's a big breakdown. But, you know, we'll save that conversation for another point as we go kill for kill through the first blood. And, again, that's on my agenda as far as keys to victories are concerned. If you're the CSU Rams, you need to be able to at least go kill for kill early on.
I like that play there from Koo, getting that trade and getting it with his life. There is a decent setup around B, but with 3 players defensively on Miami, you might be second guessing where that hit is actually truly coming from. And with the bomb rotation now over towards A, it's going to be up to Retro to see if he can maybe find a kill or 2. Does take some shots. Position's going to be known. That's a big trade there from Koo to make sure things do not get out of hand. So we'll go 2v2 with 30 seconds left.
Bob's gonna be planted at A though, and again, the Rams are gonna be hard pressed to make this rotation safely because you've got Nerf watching the cross, and yeah, he's already seen Coog. He has to back over the top, and now there's only two options as far as where the Rams are gonna rotate from. They're gonna come through Pink, or come around the backside of Evermore, and well, there's the call. Yeah, this is a really good heads up play. Coog, no chance. Colorado Black looking really good on their rotations, in and out, 3-0 up.
And I mean, coming back to the veto fact that I was kind of coming in towards the map set with is just like, if you know Miami and your opponents don't, like, it is just so easy to be able to lock them in towards these very difficult positions. I think that's now twice where we've seen the ARs been able to get towards the middle of the map, whether it's offense or defense here for the side of CU Black, and they're just conveying so much information and calling all of these rotations if they end up coming through. So it has really been fantastic here so far. It's CSU Rams yet to find an answer so far in search and destroy. Kook, with 4 kills, is trying to get something done here with this team, as they are going to be setting up for a long A hit through the beach side, seeing if they can work through. And if they find this first kill on towards the player that is sitting in the visitor center, then they will be able to get control. But that kill does not come through. And while we'll see maybe the trade, but Kook will back down and not challenge it out.
And just look at the map. Look how it's being zoned right now by Colorado Black.
Man.
I mean, Nerf in the middle, he's going to be used. He's going to finesse this. They get a read on Coog. Apoxos helps him over the top. Retro was trying to hold his life topside balcony, but nowhere for him to go. And yeah, I think Colorado Black maybe was paying some respect early, but that's gone out the window. They are just running straight through the middle of the map, taking over, and not allowing the Rams an inch to breathe.
I would really like to see CSU Rams start keeping one player off towards one side of the map, and then let them know the hit's coming through B, and let someone work for some kind of a slow flank. See if you can get in from behind, something just to change up, because it's just not been working whatsoever here for them, offensively or defensively. And CU Black, they've already showed us a bit of their A hit. This time around, it's going to be hard dedication in from behind. Well, already kind of just watches over the middle. And well, he gets that great call out there, and he's going to find the kill. And yeah, you got to call the rotation here, Alan, and no one is moving over. They're still locked in towards B, which means that they might be able to get control of A site here very easily. And there goes the second.
I mean, just look at the setup right now, just really quickly. You've got Norte watching one side in the bottom, but up top is Mr. Apocalypse. He's making sure nobody rotates from left to right across his screen on the back side. It's just so difficult. And the problem is when you only have one player over towards A who's solely playing the visitor center and not paying attention to the deep beach front or over the middle of the map, that allows those positions to become way too solid for Colorado. So Coog, last player left, not going to find anything down low, and it's 5-0 up for Colorado Black.
Yeah. It's tough. It's tough for sure. And I feel like the best thing that you can kind of make an argument for, for the side of CSU Rams is they can look at what we're saying here and kind of evaluate that and figure out, okay, we really were, playing a lot of this wrong. And to be fair, they're going up against a really good squad. I think, CU Black, we don't exactly know where to, essentially rank them so far in the season because we haven't seen all of the teams. But based off of what we've gotten at a map 1 and this map so far, I mean, they clearly have their heads on their shoulders. They have a lot of things strategized and prepped. And I mean, you're just hoping to hopefully get a round here for CSU Rams. And Pond is trying to work for this kill here. Almost could have got good timing. Will meet the challenge, but Apocalypse will take him down.
And if he finds the second one, Nerf is going to take over Curve. This is going to be the game here. And, I don't know how much we can really truly look into this, but I have to have a feeling that, this year, because, there is a limit on signups, schools could not put together 3 teams. We limited it to 2. So the schools that are out there that have 2 rosters, it's almost like the same thing that we're kind of talking about with like a lot of the challengers teams, where you're no longer you're dealing with just 10 players. You're dealing with just 8. So if you're trimming off 2 players from the backside of what was 2 teams for your school last time, maybe we should just figure that the teams, or pardon me, I'm just losing my vernacular. The schools that have 2 teams, I think we can figure that the top team is probably going to be pretty darn good, if not at the worst, solidly competent, because you had an option to go through, and you've obviously chosen 4 very solid players that, at least comparatively. So, I'm not just trying to say that the schools that have 2 teams, their first team is going to be doing things like this, because I think, honestly speaking, we're seeing some really good individual talent from Colorado Black. But when you've got a deeper pool to pick from, you're going to have a more specialized front team, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, time is put in. I mean, going into Miami, super clean 6-0, right? A lot of teams that are going up against them take that in going into the future
No
because
playing
that is just honestly just so well played for as far as what they're doing, zoning off the map, taking control. Just it really felt like CSU Rams were just kind of suffocating, hoping they would get in towards challenges, and challenges were never really coming in their favor without fighting it from a heady. So very, very tough. And now we go in towards raid control here, Alan, where we've seen a respawn already. We've just saw a search and destroy. It's really hard to make an argument that CSU Rams are going to do anything spectacular or at least be able to contest, I would say, the CU Black Squad based off what they've done. But at least the one thing you can take away here is that this map is a little bit wider for as far as what you're going to be able to get, which means that if you are on the attack, you can now rely on hopefully some of that shot calling that you're talking about. You're just starting to commit
Yeah.
to plays and see if that's going to end up working out for you here, because there is definitely a world where you can get 3 or 4 down, stack the zone, and offensives offenses rather can actually swing your way and come over to you. It's just a matter of actually getting everyone on the same page going in towards this third map.
Well, that's what's tasked for Colorado State. If they want to try to put together a hopes of a reverse sweep, it has to be through the raid control. We'll step away for just a brief break between maps 2 and 3. When we come back, it will be raid control after this. Back, we're getting ready to go for map number 3 here. It's going to be raid control, and so far it's been all Colorado Boulder Black. The Buffaloes stampeding over the Rams. Is that
The
an
Rams.
appropriate animal reference? Well,
I
yeah,
think
we can
so.
do
They're
that.
they're a
Yeah.
lot bigger, right, Alan? I mean, they got to be bigger than Rams. I want to say Buffaloes are like pretty massive, man. Yeah, even we're getting confirmation in the background. I mean, they're gonna stampede them. I think going in towards this one, that's very likely what's gonna happen because it's been a very interesting first couple of maps coming through. A lot of learning, I think, to be done here for CSU Rams. But on the other side of things, it's been CSU Black or CU Black, excuse me, that has been very, very strong. They have a great game knowledge. This is the main roster, and I mean, they're showing that they are the main roster with their
Right.
performance thus far.
And potentially maybe the roster to be looking out for in the Pacific.
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to pick favorites so early. We don't know. Again, these are rather large divisions, and there are going to be matches surely here in the early stages of this first split where, yeah, you're going to get maybe the best team playing up against maybe the worst team. It's very plausible that that could happen. But, here's the thing. And this is why I really think that he did a really good job with the format this year. I've always been a fan of a Swiss system when it comes
Mhm.
to a large amount of teams like we have like this, where you could essentially get the winners playing up against winners, losers playing up against losers, and it kind of whittles its way down. But that becomes difficult to logistically put together because of how widespread, especially the western part of the Collegiate COD League is this year. So you've got the opportunity still. Let's just say that the CSU Rams, they start off 0-4. I'm not going to put that on them necessarily, but let's just say hypothetically they start off 0-4. After the first split, they'll be put down into the bottom cut of their division. Well, they'll be guaranteed to play up against other teams that have not had a successful first part of the CCL, and they could still make playoffs. So there's an opportunity, I think, to learn a lot from this matchup, even if it is a 3-0 and it's pretty dominant, which I think everyone in the chat, with me and you included, are probably expecting going into this raid control. But if you can just take that due diligence, take the knock on the chin, learn from it, get yourself back up, come back out next week, look to be a little bit more strong, you're going to have the opportunity to eventually make a play for playoffs. So everybody's staying. That's the big thing. The first 5 weeks go poorly, you can still make playoffs. It's still very, very possible. So we'll see what we see here as far as the sample size for the control for both these squads, and if CSU Rams could maybe generate a little bit of inspiration here for the audience at large.
Let's see what they can do. Offense coming through here for CSU Rams. We know on this map, defensively, usually you're pretty thin. So if you went on a couple of those gunfights, you could look to stack that zone. That's a nice little shot there from Pon as he just jumps out. We'll be able to win the one-on-one battle here. G-Nerf did find value in the middle of the map, and while he's going to find value over by the point, he's able to take down 3 there on his first life, and that will be the whole squad wiped.
The big problem now is you've got Buffalo in your spawn, which kind of sounds like a really good name for a punk rock band.
Buffalo's in your spawn.
Buffalo in your spawn.
I feel like that'd be like a Screamo name or something like that, like a Screamo band.
I'm down for it. I'd listen. I would go to that concert. But we do have, a really nice spread of the map here. And when you get the opportunity, to, again, Nerf is one of the guys that we're looking at. He's just kind of running rampant over through art right now. It's just so hard because you have to flush this player out. And while you do, you're giving up where you're going to be hitting from, because you're not just going to come flush this guy at art and then go B. So then the players that are defending B can rotate over. It's just an ebb and flow that is, if you're not taking my drift, not a positive for the Colorado State Rams.
Pon's the only one that is kind of bringing some type of a positive gameplay here towards the squad right now. He's been able to win on a couple battles. Tags up Nerf. Will go for the challenge there, and that will be good with the pistol. Trey does unfortunately come in here for the CSU Rams, so they're not going to be able to really get full control over the zone just yet, but they are slowly but surely working for the tick. Retro gets beaten down up close. Apocalypse now will likely press on forward as Pon tries to set up a pinch. Pinch will be shut down. They're back in towards the spawn trap here. We'll have to battle out with only 30 seconds left.
Not looking great. Oh, caught reload. No, oh, my goodness. Those will be top fails of the week, part 2 right there, if that kill comes through. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, Pon, I was surprised to see him playing with a Craig on the opening of Garrison because he was flying around the map with the 74U, and he's doing all right. He's 6 and 6.
Yeah, I feel like
stall the clock and maybe get a couple more kills. Who knows?
Yeah, I feel like Garrison's a map too, where you'd want someone like Pon to have this you know, AK-74U. It definitely would be, you know, extremely valuable, especially with some of the kills he's been able to open up around this point. I mean, already 6 kills strong, 5 objective score. You know, trying to do it all right now. As Coog's also maybe trying to do that. Maybe he doesn't realize he has to stay on the time. Only about 5 seconds left. I mean, it didn't matter. Everyone was swarming in and around him, so does get here as CU Black are able to bounce back and forth between the zones, and they are fine. But yeah, I think I agree with you, Alan. It would be nice, I think, Pon to keep this sub out, maybe more often, because you need someone to be a playmaker on your squad, and it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of those. And Pon, I think, will have to try and fill those shoes for the squad as we go in towards the year.
No, I think I know how you're going to answer this, but let's just say you were to build a team, you would start with one huge all-star. Would you rather have a lockdown AR or playmaking SMG?
I think a playmaking SMG.
Okay. I think for this title, I agree. But there's something to be said about, like, you know, Octane from Seattle last year.
Sure.
Even at time like Skies for Florida, like early on before Awakening, like,
yeah,
Skies like carried that team.
I think the reason I say it, I think it's because it's easier to learn the playstyle of an AR. Like, I'm not saying the role in general is easy, but I think it's easier to learn the, you know, the playstyle of an AR than it is like the sub of knowing, you know, the timings of when to push, when to get aggressive, how to play a role. Apocalypse snapped on Pon there. And I think it's just a little bit easier to be able to adapt to. But yeah, I mean, in this game, we just know how valuable it is to have some of these crazy sub players in the game for yourself. To CU Black, well, they've opened things up right where they left them in the last round here. Already 2 minutes of time, and they are stacked on B.
Yeah, there's something to be said, I think, because like the skill sets, like you mentioned, it's definitely not easy to play main AR, but you have to have like a bigger brain, I feel like, to play main AR, because you have to respond to how your teammates are moving and know when to play the lockdown role, the lockdown lane over, or when can I maybe play for a hard point time, or when do I play for a rotation. There's a lot of quarterbacking is what I'm kind of getting at that you have to do because the main AR, whereas
That's fair.
You know, for a SMG, the skill set to finesse and play your life is extremely valuable, and to be able to go on sprees largely will happen on those playmaking SMGs. But yeah, I don't know, it's an interesting conversation point. I wonder what the community at large would say, like playmaking SMG or lockdown AR, which would you want your big all-star to be?
What is there more of, I guess, is probably the question. Is there more subs or ARs in the scene? That might end up being our answer if we were to roll something like a poll or something like that.
Let's to be fair, you know, I think the conversation, you know, not just here for the CCL, but I think largely for those challengers players that are trying to get into the CDL, is being a main AR, trying to go path to pro is the hardest role you could go into. And I think some of that is because, again, you only get you're only having one main AR per team. But also the players that are main ARs are like Clayster and Gribsix and Octane. Like, it's just, there's so much talent that's already there.
The newest one that's entered is Skies, I want to say, right? Like, he's the newest, like, AR that's been in the scene. And then, yeah, you think of all the other ones, like Aqua, he's been around for quite a long time. It's a hard role to get into because it's a role you have to have a ton of trust for, right? Like, your subs, like, if your subs are having a bad game, then, like, that's not the worst. I feel like you're still at least able to get on the time. You're still able to at least be the entryman for your team. But if your main AR is having a bad game, like, you're usually feeling it a lot more for as far as overall map pressure. So, yeah, I think that's a fair point.
Well, Nerf is 20 and 6. Apocalypse is a kill short of double pause. Yeah, Nerf has had a series, really. And Can we maybe by chance switching pull up what the loadouts are for these guys? So yeah, I was about to say, this has largely been 3 ARs for both teams, and that's the case. So that's also a bit strange, and I think will really be a big conversation point as we get, especially to the top cut and second split, but also in playoffs. The teams that are just doing well because they have a lot of lockdown. What happens when they play up against a team that has a lot of pushing paralysis with like 3 solid SMGs? Because Colorado largely has just been dominating lanes. And it's weird to see Krigs and M4s like inside art and stuff like that to try to zone.
Yeah, it is. It is going to be interesting to see how that matchup kind of comes through for sure. And I mean, there's been no real control for as far as that exact answer here for CSU Rams, having to try and get some kind of a response. They have managed to work for 2 ticks though, and they have the stack on the zone, so they might be able to get the very first zone of the game here. Alan, it all starts with this. Maybe it's enough to get over towards B and get around. Pawn pushes up, finds himself a kill, and there is actually a slight numbers advantage now in favor of CSU Rams.
3-for-1 initial trade, but Apocalypse will shut down the cut through middle and pick up the long pinch. Diener comes close to personal. A number of contestants to try to fight against. He'll only take down 1. Pawn is just running amok in the back. This is exactly what you want from that playmaking SMG. Try to make sure that as Colorado Black comes off respawn, they can't just fully reinforce. The problem is Apocalypse has taken down 2 kills. Norday keeps his life just outside the pool chairs. As Apocalypse finds himself on now 5 in a row, Colorado Black will set themselves up for a pretty solid zone of the B zone.
Apocalypse finds that first one, cutting down maybe a second. Pawn there for the trade. Minute 15 left. Still going to be a little bit low on lives now as they've been wiped a couple of times, getting down to 5, which means that you might only have a couple of pushes left. Pawn, once again, the man that's trying to get them out of this spawn trap and has been able to win a couple of key gunfights, but just has not been enough. I mean, the man is even right now, 16 and 16, 13 objective score. Trying to do it. Jugster Pro also trying to keep them in the spawn. He's going to land some long-range shots, waiting for the pinch in from behind. Going to set the pre-nade up. Going to continue to play his life and just be annoying.
Maybe there needs to be a conversation for Colorado State that, running one SMG might not be the greatest, because Pawn is finding moments where he's moving through the map and maybe opening up space, but he's doing it by himself. And that's troublesome. So it'll be a 3-0 here. We were left with a lot of questions as far as what is Colorado State going to have to do to fix themselves up. But what we definitively will walk away with is Colorado Boulder Black team is pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, they're here to play. Like, everything from their whole veto process, again, maybe not knowing what was selected from each side, but it definitely seemed like they had a great idea on how they wanted to play that. So having that something that you can always pull out going into what future matches is going to be super important, which means that other squads now can maybe tee up on their overall map pool and what they can kind of pull out and what they can use for as far as the system itself. So yeah, it should be very, very fun to see the squad kind of evolve and go through. We saw their sister team, and again, their sister team looked pretty good, pretty solid, just was unable to kind of close out the maps per se. So you take, this main roster where they've been able to try out all of those 8 individuals, and they got what this set for. I mean, they are absolutely the best of the best coming out of that school, and they look it, they're showing it. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they're going to be able to do for the entire season here for us, Alan.
Well, we had 3-0s all across the Alpha stream here this evening, so
we did.
A little bit of a shorter cut here for us, but the Bravo stream is still going on, which is where we're going to send all you guys up to next, as California Berkeley will be playing up against California State Northridge. Is that what it is? I read that right? Yes, California State University Northridge. The Matadors taking on the Bears. Should be a pretty good one there. If only they were the Bulls, they would have an actual representation of Matador Bull, and I would be here for that. I get entertainment out of like the most random, mild things, and you know this, Austin, but
that's why we love you, Alan.
Do we though? That's the real question. But hey, how about this? Tomorrow, we'll be right back. We'll be right here. Again, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time is where we'll start. And yeah, a lot of great matches tomorrow. We know that for a fact. All of these schools that we'll have tomorrow night are tried and tested through season 2. We're going to be kicking off this stream as proper, and Nakormi will take us out with the Ohio State University Scarlet team playing up against Liberty Red. Should be a good one there. Humber College will be playing up against Sheridan College. We'll be on for that one there, Austin. No bias from you. You're not allowed to because both teams are from Canada. And then we've got Concord Maroon going up against Penn State. There's not 2 teams this year for Penn State. They're just rocking with one, and they're really good. So should be fun. Thoughts from you before we close?
Yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, we got to see a lot of the first looks at some individuals, and there was a lot I think that did stand out here for us to keep track of going in towards this entire season here. Nerf, I think, was a big one from the last series where he looked really good, but will be
Yeah.
interesting to see how the matchups come through with maybe a different play style. And then overall, a lot of 3-0s with the first couple of matches. We had some really tight, close hard points in search and destroy. So, take from it what you will, but I definitely think as we get ourselves in towards the season, things are just going to continue to get spicier, continue to get better. And I mean, it's really going to be exciting tomorrow. And I'm hyped for those matches. So yeah, I hope to see you guys there.
Don't miss it. Follow the channel on the way out. We're sending you over to Bravo, where you'll be taking place with Morgan and Cruz. They're taking down that battle for California. We'll see you tomorrow, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. So long.